When my mother stood up at Thanksgiving dinner and called me a failure, declaring I get nothing in her will, the whole family smirked like it was the punchline to a bad joke. Months later, she died, and the will cut me out completely. My brother James took almost everything. But that night, the carving knife still hovered over the turkey, steam rising from the mashed potatoes, and the crystal glasses clinked awkwardly as everyone pretended not to notice the tension thickening the air like gravy. I sat at the long oak table in my mother's dining room, the one she'd inherited from her parents, polished to a gleam that reflected our distorted faces. The room smelled of roasted turkey and cranberry sauce, mixed with the faint mustiness of old family portraits hanging on the walls, generations of stern ancestors watching us devour each other. I'd spent the afternoon in the kitchen with her, chopping onions, stirring the stuffing, my hands raw from years of these rituals. Mom snapped at me to hurry, her voice sharp as she glared at my clumsy knife work. Years of caring for her after Dad's death, managing her medications, driving her to appointments, listening to her complaints about aches that never seemed to end, yet today her irritation stings worse than ever. She pushed back her chair suddenly, the legs scraping against the hardwood floor. Her eyes, sharp and cold like chipped ice, fixed on me. The laughter from earlier conversations died out. My aunt and uncle exchanged glances, their forks paused mid-air. James, seated across from me, leaned back with a faint smile, his tie loosened, looking every bit the successful executive he pretended to be. "Olivia," she said, her voice steady, cutting through the room like a judge's gavel. "You're a disappointment, a complete failure." The words landed hard, my chest tightening. I set down my wineglass, the stem cool against my palm, and stared at her. "Mom, what are you talking about? This is Thanksgiving. Can we not?" "No, we cannot." She straightened her posture, her pearl necklace catching the chandelier light. "You've coasted through life, relying on everyone else, me especially. Well, I've decided it's time you learned a lesson." "Yes," she snapped, her lips thinning. "In my will, you get nothing, not a cent. Maybe that'll teach you some self-reliance." Snickers rippled around the table. My uncle hid his behind a napkin, pretending to cough. Aunt Linda's eyes gleamed with something like satisfaction, as if my downfall confirmed her own choices. James met my gaze briefly, then looked away, slicing into his turkey with deliberate strokes. I gripped the edge of the tablecloth, the fabric bunching under my fingers. "After everything I've done for you, the doctor's visits, the nights I stayed up when you couldn't sleep, this is how you repay me?" "Repay?" She laughed, a short, bitter sound. "You think caregiving entitles you? James has built something real. A career, a family. You're just here." The room spun slightly. Humiliation burned in my throat. I wanted to scream, to flip the table, but instead I sat frozen, the weight of their stares pressing down. "I'll teach you a real lesson," she added, sitting back down with finality. "One you'll never forget." I pushed my chair back. "I'm going to get some air." "Do," Mother says. Am I clear you're thinking? Or the odor of mediocrity. As I pull the door closed behind me, I hear Mother's voice float after me, buoyant and cruel. I said I'd teach her a lesson. The autumn air outside is knife cold. I breathe until my chest stops fluttering. The lawyer's office smells of leather-bound books and stale coffee, the kind of place where fortunes are dissected under fluorescent lights. Clara sits across from me, her desk cluttered with files, her glasses perched on the end of her nose. It's been 2 weeks since Mom's funeral, the will reading still echoing in my head. James inheriting the house, the investments, everything but a few trinkets for me. I clutch my purse strap, knuckles white, as if holding on might steady the rage bubbling inside. "Olivia," Clara says, scanning the document again, her pen tapping rhythmically. "Your mother had every right to disinherit you. Connecticut law allows it, unless we can prove undue influence or lack of capacity." The memory cut in. 2 months before she died, Mother had called me to the house. She looked smaller in her chair, wrapped in a chenille throw, a mug of chamomile cooling on the table. "I'm sorry for Thanksgiving," she said, eyes wet. I was cruel. You carried me when no one else did. Her hand found mine and held. It should be equal, Olivia, between you and James. I'll call the attorney in Farmington on Monday and make it right. She pressed a tissue to her mouth, as if sealing the promise. The tea steamed between us like a vow I wanted to believe. I leaned forward, the chair creaking. She wasn't herself those last months. James was always whispering in her ear, pushing his agenda. He manipulated her, I know it. Clara nods slowly, her expression neutral, like she's heard this 100 times. Manipulation is hard to prove. We'd need evidence, witnesses, documents showing he coerced her. Without that, contesting the will could drag on for years, cost a fortune in fees. My stomach twists. Suing my own family? The thought sends a shiver down my spine. Visions of courtrooms filled with accusing stares, relatives testifying against me. But letting James win, after Mom's cruel announcement that night, after all I've sacrificed, it feels like surrendering everything. I can't just walk away, I say, my voice firmer than I feel. She promised me 2 months ago that we'd split things evenly. This isn't her, it's him. She sets the papers down. If you're sure, we'll file an objection to probate in the Hartford Probate Court to contest the will. But be ready, these cases can tear families apart. Clara flipped a page in the folder. One more thing. This will has a no contest clause. If you sue to set it aside, you forfeit your share. But Connecticut recognizes a probable cause exception. If we have reasonable grounds to believe James exercised undue influence, the clause won't be enforced. We'll need scheduling emails James sent, drafting invoices paid with his card, and a paralegal affidavit placing him in the room for the final revisions. First step, Clara said, tapping her pen. We preserve the paper trail, billing ledgers, and scheduling emails from the Farmington firm. If they won't cooperate voluntarily, we'll subpoena. No drama, just records. As I leave her office, the autumn wind whips through the parking lot, carrying fallen leaves like scattered regrets. My phone buzzes. James. I answer, bracing. Olivia? What the hell? My lawyer just got wind. You're thinking of contesting. His voice booms, laced with fury. It's not thinking, I retort, unlocking my car. I'm doing it. You twisted her against me. He laughs, harsh and mocking. You dare sue? Over what? Your entitlement. You'll lose everything, including whatever scraps she left you. The family will turn on you completely. The threat hangs heavy, my heart pounding. This isn't about money. It's about what she did that Thanksgiving, humiliating me in front of everyone. You sat there smirking. That was her choice, he snaps. She saw you for what you are, a leech. Drop this, or I'll make sure you regret it. He hangs up. I sit in the car, engine idling, staring at the dashboard. Doubt creeps in. Am I strong enough for this fight? But no, I can't let her final act, twisted by him, define us. But can I really win against my own family? The probate courtroom in Hartford reeks of polished wood and desperation, the kind that clings to the air like stale perfume. Rows of benches creak under the weight of fidgeting spectators, and the judge's gavel echoes off the high ceilings, a sharp reminder that lives get carved up here like holiday roasts. I sit beside Clara, my hands clasped in my lap, nails digging into my palms as James stands at the podium, his lawyer flanking him like a shadow. Your Honor, James's lawyer intones, sliding a stack of papers forward. The will is airtight. Executed properly, witnessed, notarized. No irregularities. James nods, his jaw set, eyes avoiding mine. He's dressed in a crisp gray suit, the one he wears to board meetings, projecting that false air of authority. My mother was clear-headed when she signed it, he says, his voice steady, practiced. She wanted to reward those who've contributed to the family legacy. I run the business. Dad started. Olivia, well, she's been more of a caretaker. The word stings, twisting in my gut. Caretaker. As if boiling down years of my life to a job title erases the sacrifices. I lean toward Clara, whispering, He's making it sound like I did nothing. She pats my arm, her touch brief, professional. We expected this. But to overturn it, we need solid proof of undue influence, that James pressured her unfairly. I swallow hard, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry bees. Proof. It's all anyone talks about now. Medical records, emails, anything showing he manipulated Mom in her final months, when her mind softened around the edges from the medications and isolation. After the hearing adjourns for the day, I drive straight to Mom's house in the suburbs, in the empty house. I was sorting through Mother's desk, the drawers stuffed with old bills and letters, when I spotted a sealed envelope tucked beneath a stack of photographs. Her handwriting on the front, will draft. My breath caught. I set it carefully aside. Under the desk blotter, a paperclip bit into a business card. Mara Delaney, paralegal, Farmington Law Offices. On the back, in tiny print, Rev. Conf. Bring son. Crossing to the kitchen, I emptied a grocery bag James had left on the counter, and a crumpled credit card slip slid free. Farmington Law Offices. Retainer. The signature line read, J. Whitmore, impatient and slanted. 3 discoveries in 1 hour, all pointing the same way. This could change everything. At home, I sliced the envelope open on my kitchen table, the paper tearing with a soft rip. Inside, typed pages outline an earlier version of the will, dated months before the final one. It splits everything evenly, house, stocks, the family cabin between James and me. No disinheritance, no lessons to be taught. My breath quickens. This proves she changed her mind under pressure. James must have convinced her otherwise. I clutch the pages, hope surging despite the doubts gnawing at me. This draft could expose the manipulation, force the court to see the truth. 2 weeks later, I found myself back in the Hartford probate court. The second hearing, the same cold panel walls, but the stakes felt sharper than before. I clutched the envelope in my lap, its edges creased from my nervous grip, while Clara flips through the draft, with pages under the harsh glow of the overhead lights. Her office is just down the hall from the probate chambers, a cramped space stacked with file boxes and yellow legal pads, but it feels like a confessional now, the walls closing in. She sets the papers down, her expression flat, unyielding. Olivia, this draft is worthless in court. No signature, no witnesses. It's just notes, really. Without authentication, it doesn't prove a thing about undue influence. I stare at her, the words sinking like stones in my stomach. But it shows her original intent, before James got to her. Clara shakes her head, tapping a pen against her desk. Intent doesn't matter without execution. The judge will see this as hearsay at best. We can't submit it. It'll backfire. The door bursts open before I can respond. James storms in, his face flushed, tie askew, his lawyer trailing behind like a reluctant shadow. He snatches the envelope from the desk, eyes scanning the pages furiously. What the hell is this? You think you can wave around some fake document and steal what's mine? It's not fake, I snap, standing up, my chair scraping back. Heat floods my cheeks. It's Mom's handwriting. She drafted it months before the final will. He slams it down, paper scattering. Forgery. That's what this is. You fabricated this crap to undermine a legal document. Your Honor needs to see this. It's tampering with evidence. Clara rises, her voice calm but edged. Mr. Sir, Hargrove, this isn't the place. We're in recess. If you have accusations, file them properly. James points at me, his finger inches from my face, veins bulging in his neck. You always were the sneaky one, Olivia. Mom knew it. That's why she cut you out. The accusation hits like a slap, echoing Mom's old barbs, how she praised James's promotions while dismissing my choices as settling. I swallow the lump in my throat, refusing to let him see the crack. But inside, isolation coils tighter. The relatives in the gallery earlier whispered behind hands, their glances sharp as knives, labeling me the greedy sister, the troublemaker tearing the family apart. James straightens, smoothing his jacket. I'm done here. See you in court. He strides out, the door slamming behind him. I sink back into the chair, the room spinning slightly. Clara gathers the scattered pages. Her movements deliberate. We regroup. Find another angle. We still have those things you discovered in your mother's house. The draft, the receipt, even that business card. They can work for us. But doubt floods me. The isolation absolute. The family rallies around him, seeing me as the villain. How much more can I take? The Hartford probate courtroom feels like a pressure cooker, the air thick with the scent of wax floors and the murmur of restless onlookers. The judge's bench looms at the front, a dark mahogany barrier between me and the verdict that could strip everything away. My hands tremble as I clutch the edge of the pew, the wood cool and slick under my fingers. Clara sits beside me, her briefcase open, papers neatly stacked but offering no comfort. The hearing is in its final stretch, the will's validity hanging by a thread, and my case is unraveling faster than a cheap sweater. Outside, rain lashes the tall windows, a gray curtain that mirrors the despair pooling in my chest. Clara leans close, her voice low. Olivia, the judge is leaning toward upholding the will. Without new evidence, we're out of moves. I nod, my throat tight. The weight of it all. Mom's betrayal, James's smug victory. The family's cold shoulders presses down like a physical force. I glance at James across the aisle, his posture relaxed, his lawyer whispering confidently. He catches my eye and offers a slight, mocking nod as if he's already won the house, the stocks, Dad's legacy. My fingers itch to wipe that look off his face, but I'm out of ammunition. Almost. Last night, lying awake in my too-quiet apartment, I thought about Mom. Not the sharp-tongued woman who humiliated me at Thanksgiving, but the one who used to braid my hair before school, humming off key. I wanted to forgive her, to believe she didn't mean to cast me out. But then I'd see her icy stare from that night, hear her voice calling me a failure, and the urge to fight would flare again. Forgiveness feels like surrender, and I'm not ready to give up. Not yet. The judge rose from his chair, robe swaying as he looked across the courtroom. This is the second hearing, he said, voice firm. Unless new evidence is presented, the will as it stands will be admitted to probate and enforced. The door swung open. A clerk carried in a stack of records. Subpoena Deuces Tecum to Mother's law firm. Clara stood quickly, smoothing her jacket. Your Honor, we moved to submit these records as newly obtained evidence. The delay was unavoidable. The firm only produced them in response to our subpoena served last week. James's lawyer leaps up, tie flapping. Objection! This is last-minute theatrics, unverified. The judge raises a hand, silencing him. I'll allow it. Let's see the evidence. Clara rose, steady and precise. Your Honor, these records show 3 critical points. First, the invoice. The retainer for the will revision was paid not from the decedent's funds, but directly by her son, James Whitmore. That is highly irregular. The primary beneficiary financing the drafting of the very document that favors him. Second, the email headers, all scheduling messages came from James's own account, fixing the exact dates when the will was altered. And third, the paralegal's sworn affidavit. Mara Delaney confirms James accompanied his mother to the Farmington office, stayed throughout the consultation, and urged inclusion of the disinheritance clause. She let the silence stretch. Taken together, these show direct influence, not independent intent. The judge leaned back, steepling his fingers, eyes fixed on James. The courtroom had gone silent except for the faint creak of the wooden benches. James shifted, his jaw tight. Mr. Stour! Whitmore, the judge said at last, voice level. Do you dispute that you financed the retainer and scheduled these meetings? James opened his mouth, then closed it again. The color drained from his face. His lawyer tried to object, but the judge lifted a hand. The record is clear. When the primary beneficiary arranges, pays for, and participates in the drafting of a will, especially one that produces an unnatural result, this court cannot ignore the presumption of undue influence. He set the file down with a final thud. The will is declared invalid. With no earlier valid instrument to restore, Distribution proceeds under Connecticut intestacy law. 2 children, equal shares. He paused. The no contest clause is not enforced here because the objector had probable cause to bring this challenge. The objection to probate is sustained. A murmur sweeps the room. James slams his fist on the table, his lawyer hissing for him to stop. He spins toward me, his face red. You've destroyed this family, Olivia. For what? Money you never earned? You're no better than a vulture. The words sting, but they don't cut like they used to. I stand, meeting his gaze. I didn't destroy us, James. You did, when you turned Mom against me. He storms out, the door slamming behind him. The gallery empties, relatives avoiding my eyes, their whispers trailing like smoke. Clara pats my shoulder. You won. It's over. But it doesn't feel like winning. My chest is hollow, the victory tasting like ash. I think of the family dinners we'll never have, the holidays now fractured beyond repair. Later, at Mom's house, I stand in the dining room, the air thick with dust and memories. The family portrait hangs above the mantel, Mom, James, me, Dad, smiling in a world that no longer exists. I reach up, my fingers brushing the frame, and pull it down. The glass cracks as it hits the floor, shattering into jagged pieces. I stare at the fragments my reflection splintered among them and wonder what I've truly gained.